Good evening, welcome to our show, Women to Women. I'm Carol Paz, your hostess, and as we always promise you, we have a lovely businesswoman from Carson City with us tonight that I'm going to introduce to you in just a few moments. But first, I'd like to take time and thank our sponsors, Villa Basque Deli and Cafe, home of Pete's famous Basque chorizo, and it is delicious, as well as Carpa Nevada, LLC, the importer of fine Portuguese olive oils and aged balsamic vinegar, as well as international teas. We'd also like to thank carsonnow.org. If there's anything going on in Carson City, go to carsonnow.org. And as a matter of fact, you can like us on Facebook to catch past episodes, as well as you can get on carsonnow.org for those past episodes of Women to Women. And I'd like to introduce this evening's guest, Rupal Wadie. And she is a well-known business lady here in Carson City, but she has such an interesting background. I connected with her the first time I saw her. So let's turn to Rupal. Welcome so much to our show.
Thank you so much, Carol. It's a pleasure being here today.
Our pleasure, our pleasure. You know, my dear, when I first stopped in to meet you, of course, you're an intriguing lady to begin with, okay? And a very special one to come into a community that was really not your home originally. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask you, fill us in on where you grew up and where you've been before coming to Carson City.
Oh, wow. I was born and raised in London. Really had an amazing upbringing in the city. Went to school, went to college. I have a degree in business and finance with travel and tourism. As a young adult, I was a high achiever. And so I traveled substantially around probably over about 30 countries, exploring cultures and languages and food and cuisine, and really enjoyed it. I met a boy from Nevada. And
in London?
In London, I met a boy from Nevada, and we decided to get married, and we moved to Nevada, and that was 20 years ago.
Well, welcome again.
Thank you.
Great to have you. You know, there are some changes that occur when we change cultures, aren't there?
Oh, yes.
And
absolutely.
I would venture to say that you've had your share of experiences in experiencing America.
Yes.
I've lived in London, but not for a long, long time, but for brief periods of time. Mm-hmm. And I loved it very much. Mm-hmm. But of course, it was different from the Middle East where I was living. It was different from New York.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about some of probably the most memorable experiences that you have to make a change coming to America.
Well, I'm full-blooded Indian, and my parents came to London from India. I was born in London, and so I was exposed to the British culture, but I was equally raised Indian. Mm-hmm. And that has most definitely been my biggest challenge living in Nevada. There is not enough exposure to the Indian culture, the food, the festivals, the clothing, the fashion, the movies. I really feel that was by far the biggest change for me, moving to Nevada and adopting the American lifestyle.
Let me ask you this. Do you find it, or did you find it, more of an isolated experience in terms of territory, in terms of social events? Because I know coming from the Middle East, the families gather, the extended families gather.
Oh, yes.
Every week, and maybe several times a week.
Most definitely. And people are not as close, and there's not as many gatherings, like you said. And I also married an only child. So there wasn't a lot of family on my husband's side that I could help make the change. Right. It was very, very difficult until my children came along.
Okay. Now, are you an only child as well?
No. I have a brother. I have one sibling, an older brother.
Okay. And how many children do you have?
I have two. I have two young ladies.
And have they also been able to connect with their Indian grandparents?
They have been extremely lucky. Since they were very, very little, they traveled to England for the summer every year, and they have amazing grandparents who were able to make sure that they got their share of their exposure.
And it is so important because education is probably far more than books.
Yes.
It's getting to know environments, getting to know different languages, different peoples. histories of those countries. So you indeed have a very blessed family life.
Yes.
On both sides. On both sides.
Absolutely. I've been very, very lucky. And my travels have been extraordinary. I mean, I have just really enjoyed everywhere I've been and really enjoyed being there and being able to have the luxury of spending 2-3 months in areas and really exploring and living the local lifestyle. And doing it when you're much younger is a lot easier. It's not as difficult as doing it when you're older, when you need more comforts of life.
And when you have children.
Yes.
Because your attention is really focused all the time on them, how they're doing, taking care, protecting. So you graduated in business and finance.
With travel and tourism.
Okay. And you're in the food industry.
I am.
What did you have experience in business financing, the tourism, prior to getting involved in restaurant
Yes,
work?
I was in the travel industry for 25 years. I've worked for the airlines. I've worked arranging travel. And I was exposed to the food side and the catering side when I was a child, because my mother was very involved in the food business. And
in what respects?
She was involved. She did a lot of catering, and my mother has always been an entrepreneur. She has always been self-employed, and she has done many things throughout her life.
In London primarily?
In London, yes.
Good for her. So she served as a role model, a very strong role model.
Absolutely, very strong role model, and always working and doing the things that she wanted to do, investing her time in things she wanted to do. And she would also volunteer a lot. She would help out at the Hindu temple. She was always there, a rock for her friends and her family. So there was a lot.
With your eyes, her pathways.
Yes.
If you were to sum up maybe the greatest impact that your mother has had on your life in terms of how she raised you or what she did, what did she convey to you that you want to pass on to your children in a fairly simple thought, simple time?
To help yourself so that you can be there for your loved ones. She was always very good at supporting herself so she could volunteer and help her family and help her children and be a strong person because she had herself.
Was she as well educated as her daughter?
No, not at all. Unfortunately, her mother passed away when she was 12 years old. And so she was married at 16.
Which is not unusual.
It's not, and especially not at that time. Right. But she really did well for herself, and she graduated, but she didn't. English was a second, third language for her, so she had to make a lot of adjustments, but she did fine. She did very, very well.
All right, so let's bring you back into Nevada, bring you back into the food industry. Where did you decide to set up your line of thinking with food, and how did you come to decide, okay, I'm going to present the public with a specific way of eating, of presenting food? How did that come to you?
We needed diversity. This area, and I really felt for a very, very long time that is in desperate need of diversity. And that was my main goal when I opened the bistro, and I wanted to give people options that they would not normally have, and also to expose them to different cultures and different foods through the food and cultural events. We do high tea every Saturday, which is a very English thing to do.
Yes, it is.
I have an absolute blast. I get to play with china and play with tea and dress up and set tables, and it's very, very fun, and it's been very, very successful. And through many different areas of the business, I also have my own spice line called The Naked Spice. And I mix spices for people who obviously want the pure spice, but also for people who are reluctant to go to a store and try and piece everything together themselves. I help balance spices for them that they can then go home and use in their dishes.
And when I say our way, because I'm a very Persian cook, okay, but our way of blending spices is often quite different. And the end result is so delicious, it's so pleasing. But many of the spices, the American public in general, are not accustomed to, because some of them are very aromatic. Some of them are, when you initially smell the aroma, the fragrance, it's very heavy, very strong, such as saffron. But when you apply it, when you cook with it, it's or cardamom or ginger or cinnamon, or etc. So the end result is just outstanding.
It is, and it's all in balance. Spices is all about balance. There's no one spice can really be used on its own. They all have to be used together.
Blended,
and if you increase the heat, you have to increase some of the other spices to make sure everything is balanced. You want a well-balanced meal, flavorful meal. You really don't want something that's just going to burn your tongue and it's not going to give you anything.
That's right. So what are the food presentations that you like to present to the public in the bistro here in Carson?
Oh, I love our curries. Our curries are just absolutely amazing. Our high tea is amazing. It's been wonderful. It's done absolutely, it's really done very, very well. And I also do cooking classes, so those have done very well also.
I hope your children are grown, because I don't know where you find time to spend with the family.
Well, it's a little bit of everything.
Okay.
And so much of what I do is a part of me.
Yes.
So it just happens. I wake up one morning and this is what I want to do, and it just happens.
And you have that luxury, as you've said before, of owning your business.
Yes.
So those decisions may be talked over with your husband. They may be talked over with some special clients, or maybe with the staff. But altogether, if you have a new idea and you want to work on it and work it with the staff, when it's ready to present to the public, it's refreshing. It's new. No one else has done it.
Right.
And I was going to say, okay, your menu features what in particular? I know your curry is outstanding.
We have curries. I have a chef. His name is Wayne. He is amazing. He's great with he's great at creating a lot of American food, such as tri-tip sandwiches and chicken sandwiches and Italian. He's from Chicago, so he does.
That's a good background right there for eating.
He has had the exposure, and he's a foodie through and through, and he just creates and creates and creates. So we have a lot of other dishes, as well as our sandwiches, our paninis, salads, soup, chili. We have an all-meat chili. It's really very good that he creates. And he's very good at balancing out the rest of the menu.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a good partnership that's working there.
Absolutely. And then last year, we introduced a dedicated vegan menu.
And I'm going to hold you right there for the second half.
Okay.
Okay, because we're running out of time in the first half. But this is something that's quite unique, and we were talking about it before the show started.
Yes.
So don't go away. You're going to love this idea.
Come to the Carson Horseshoe Club for fun and friendly service. Play your favorite games. Join our Players Club, where you get cash for points plus food comps, and enjoy casual dining in our Lucky Horse Grill. Get it all in the heart of downtown Carson City at the family-owned, local favorite Carson Horseshoe Club.
Apex SEF provides cutting-edge, hands-on training that effectively addresses today's threats of violence.
The Apex Stay Alive course teaches proven methods for personal protection and attack countermeasures that can be applied in any environment. In your home, at the workplace, or on campus, Apex will teach you the necessary skills to stay alive, including how to recognize and react to an active shooter scenario.
If you knew you had to fight for your life tomorrow, would you train today? Contact us now to sign up for a class in your region.
Hi, I'm Stephen Lincoln with CarsonCityHomes.com, Carson City's original online real estate resource.
At CarsonCityHomes.com, you get effective and easy-to-use tools to help you select your next home today. With our easy-to-use website, you can search listings throughout Northern Nevada and narrow the results by selecting every facet, quirk, and quality you desire. Visit CarsonCityHomes.com.
Beds of the Homeless is a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization that provides pet food and veterinary care to the homeless and less fortunate in local communities.
With donations from the public, we're able to provide homeless shelters with crates, bowls, cleaning materials, so that homeless with pets can come into homeless shelters and get the services that they need to get out of homelessness.
Welcome back to the second half of our show. We're here with Rupal, and she is just about to declare to us something that came into her mind. It's totally unique, and I'm going to let her explain that. But before we do that, I'd like to thank our sponsors for the second half. The Horseshoe Club Casino, which is one of the oldest businesses here in Carson City. It's local, it's family owned, and when you step in there, history comes alive. We'd also like to thank Dr. Kent Gabriel, noted plastic surgeon here in Northern Nevada, who's one of the finest here in the country as well. So let's return now to Rupal. Rupal, you have this idea that is a total bright spot in your mind.
Oh, yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
And how did it occur? What is it?
Well, we have a vegan menu, and we've had a dedicated vegan menu, and we've had it probably for about 10 months. I have people coming in, and it seems like they have some kind of a mental block with vegan food.
And maybe for our viewers, you need to help us understand what is a vegan menu.
A vegan menu is no animal product, no dairy, no eggs, no cheese, no pizza, no animal products whatsoever.
Okay.
And it really, I really started to realize that people believe that they could not live without meat. They truly believe this.
And you're in beef country, right?
And we are in beef country, so I somewhat expected it.
Okay.
And my goal is not to turn everybody into a vegan. I eat meat, I eat dairy, but I wanted to try and expose people to more vegan food, so at least they could understand that the food is good. My goal is to make it about the food. My life in my business is about the food.
Has this ever been done before?
No. What we did was that we put out an offer to Carson City residents to challenge them. So it's a vegan challenge. Now, what the difference is between this vegan challenge and other vegan challenges is that this is sponsored by Foodies Bistro.
Okay.
So we provide lunch, snack, dinner, and dessert for 3 consecutive days to those who take us up on the offer at no cost to the people who participate.
Okay, but there must be some strings attached somewhere.
They have to commit 100% to being vegan for 3 days.
Okay.
So even though we are providing them with with most of the food, that we do not provide breakfast.
Okay.
So although we are providing them with most of the food, they have to commit to being 100% vegan for those 3 consecutive days.
No cheating.
No, absolutely
All right.
not.
So that means that they cannot go someplace else and gobble up whatever they think they're missing, then come for a lunch, snack, and a supper and a dessert, because that defeats the whole purpose.
It defeats the whole purpose. We're trying to stimulate the vegan market in our local area.
Okay.
And trying to help people see that there's nothing wrong with not eating meat occasionally. It's not it is not a sentencing. It is just a choice.
Yes.
And just like you go out for Thai or Chinese, whatever you choose, it is acceptable to go out for vegan.
And not only from the healthy standpoint, but from the medical standpoint, sometimes an all vegetarian, no meat products whatsoever, has enhanced the lives of so many people, especially children as well as adults.
Yes.
Especially if they're dealing with something that is triggered by something that is put into meat, or that is processing with meat, etc., or with dairies.
Right.
And it has been a lifesaver for many peoples.
Right.
Now, do the people that enlist, they have to be from Carson City.
They have to be Carson City residents.
All right. Do they have to keep any kind of a journal or something where they can let you know how the whole experience went?
We do. request that they give us feedback after every meal, and also feedback at
Verbal feedback.
verbal feedback, or emails, or
Okay.
whatever they're comfortable with.
right.
And we request that after the 3 days, they really honestly tell us whether they can or cannot become vegan or introduce a vegan diet within their existing diet.
And this has been going on for how long?
The vegan challenge.
Yes.
We just started recruiting a couple of weeks ago. So we'll stop recruiting for this first phase, which is February. And then once that is over, we'll do it again.
Do you have a set number of people that you would like to be able to work with in this diet or in this presentation?
We do. I would like to work with about 10 to 12 people.
All right.
Our initial response has been overwhelming. We have had a tremendous response.
So you've kind of had to select.
We have, sometimes there's conflict as far as the time goes.
Right.
People's work, they can't always be there when they're supposed to be there, depending on what they do. So we select people who are open-minded to new foods, no food allergies.
Okay,
That's very
that's important.
Carson City residents. And people wwho just like to try new food. It's a big requirement.
You know, one of the things that I learned while I was living in the Middle East is how little dependent they are upon meat.
Yes.
If I had meat, it was usually in very small pieces worked in with, other vegetables and rice, sometimes fruits, and it was delicious. It enhanced, but it didn't take over the meal.
It didn't, and personally, I do believe that we consume far too much meat. To me, it is very much a state of mind. To feel like you have to have this 6, 10, 8-ounce steak, or you have to have this big piece of chicken, and once you close that door, the vegan world is vast. I mean, just vast. I do cooking classes, and between the lentils and the different vegetables and the different flavors and the spices and everything, it's huge. There is so much for the vegan world to offer.
Well, you're opening up a brand new world to so many people. And we are creatures of habit, and depending a lot on how we were brought up. I grew up in the Midwest, and farming, dairy cattle, dairy products, cheeses from Wisconsin, from Michigan. Fish was not, my father was a fisherman, and it came from the lakes and the streams, not from the ocean. So for seafoods, it was a whole different aroma, a whole different way of living and of tasting. But I soon came to understand that as we age, the digestive process has a tougher time handling the meats, and it's not always as healthy for us as we had hoped it would be.
Yeah.
So I've had to cut way back on the amount of meat.
Well, and have options, and realize that you have options, and that's where the diversity comes in. Is that we in our local area, we really need the diversity. We need the diversity to help people be exposed to more foods and more options, and that these are things that they would like to eat, and to really make it about the food.
Besides your marriage to an American from Nevada, I haven't asked you this question. Are you an American citizen?
No, I am not.
You are not. Okay.
I'm a permanent resident.
Okay. And I have been married, and am married to two gentlemen who did decide many, many years later to become American citizens. So I was going to ask you, as you travel back and forth, is there something in your heart or in your mind that eventually would allow you to become an American citizen, do you think?
Maybe. It just has not been a big focus for me. I don't feel like it's something that I need to do.
Okay. And you could do this type of business in London or back in New Delhi or wherever you wanted to take it,
Absolutely.
actually. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I'm hoping here in the next few months I'll be able to, with my vegan cooking classes, go on tour of the Western United States and be able to teach and reach more people throughout the Western United States and be able to teach more classes.
That's quite a goal. That's quite a goal.
I am very excited about it. So.
Now, can your family accompany you? Do they help you in any way in the food shows?
Oh, yes. My husband is extremely supportive, and my girls cook just like I do. So they definitely know what it is that I'm doing. And
How old are they?
they're 18 and almost 16. So
Okay.
they're it's a great age
Yes,
for they're
yes.
going off and doing a lot of their own things, and it's something that I think will be very refreshing for me to be able to venture out and do more of.
You speak English beautifully. Of course, you grew up with it in London, and you're so articulate with vocabulary. Have you ever thought about perhaps one day writing a book?
I have thought about it.
You're creative enough to do that.
Whether it happens or not is really completely a different story.
But you have such a great story to tell, to share.
I have really lived a very creative life and enjoyed it thoroughly, and like anybody else, had my own challenges.
Yes. Besides coming to America and facing the cultural differences, have there been some personal challenges just with Nevadans or with neighbors or with business associates that you walk through, and you think you met that challenge? Can you share anything like that with us?
I couldn't tell you specifically, but what I can say is that there's, on both sides, sometimes there is a very huge lack of understanding.
Okay.
Sometimes it's hard for me to really explain to somebody how I feel, because it is an experience that they just cannot understand.
Perhaps
And vice versa.
And you know, when we travel outside of this is such a large nation.
It is huge, yes.
Very few people ever have to leave it to experience the Alps. They can come right out here to the west, okay, in the Great Mountains, or to go to the south where it's warm. Wonderful skiing from north to the east to the west. So very few of us have traveled outside of the United States, and because it becomes a little bit more risky as time goes on, that's sometimes a fear that we have that prevents us.
Yeah.
But when we can share our lives with a life like yours and sit down and just find out about one another, it opens our minds, it opens our hearts, and it opens opportunities.
It does.
And we never know what's out there to be a part of that experience.
I mean, I have enjoyed America tremendously. I've been here for 20 years. I've traveled to many, many, many parts, and I've really enjoyed it. It has so much to offer. It really is and maybe sometimes it's underestimated what an amazing country it really is. But it truly has been for me. It's been a wonderful experience.
Well, we thank you for your insights very much.
Thank you.
And we wish you the very best in this new adventure with the vegan challenge, yes. And I think I might walk in that door, maybe not in February, but I think I might like to try that challenge. Okay.
Absolutely.
Take care, and thank you so much for
you,
being
Carol.
with us. You're dear. We'll be back next week with another very special lady. Until that time, take care. Have a good evening. Good night.
How would you feel if a fire broke out in your home and you couldn't hear the smoke alarm? Especially if it's someone you love. Visit ReadyWasher.com to receive a smoke alarm that is specially designed for the deaf and hard of hearing. These smoke alarms send a wireless signal to a receiver that gives you strobe and vibration notification.
Local fire departments urge everyone to be prepared.
Visit ReadyWasher.com to help assure the safety of your family.
Come to the Carson Horseshoe Club for fun and friendly service. Play your favorite games. Join our Players Club, where you get cash for points plus food comps, and enjoy casual dining in our Lucky Horse Grill. Get it all in the heart of downtown Carson City at the family-owned, local favorite Carson Horseshoe Club.